find you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you all. It is a different kind of day. The recent COVID surge within our community has forced some recent changes in how we will be conducting our gathering today and, in fact, for the week ahead. Unfortunately, there will not be any coffee or tea served in Fellowship Hall following the service. The Mias will also have canceled their food service for today. Please consider supporting our local businesses, including Mia's Indian Cuisine, during the week. They are impacted by the construction. In addition to that, we are changing, so our Christmas services, the backdrop to this is, as explained in the EUU, that we have had a surge in COVID infections within our community, especially within Unitarian House, as well as in other congregants. So we've scaled back some of our offerings. We still are offering 2 Christmas services on Christmas Eve at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We are and will be strongly encouraging participants to be masked and distanced, just to keep everyone healthy during these times. Normally on Christmas Eve we offer a bread and soup supper in between those 2 services. We will not be offering that this year. So please bear that in mind with your planning for Christmas Eve. Here's another way to get your calories. The Unitarian Go-Go's will be continuing their bake sale this coming Sunday, December 22nd, after the service. Items include fudge, shortbread, and local maple syrup for sale. Cash, checks, and e-transfers will be accepted. Thank you, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. Mary.
Thank you, Brent. So, there have been several changes overnight. I've lost my order of service, but anyway, I wanted to tell you that this order of service which you were given is, thank you, Mariella. This order of service which you were given is a wonderful guide to what's going on today, ordinarily. However, overnight there have been several changes, as Brent mentioned, and as a result, this really, as I've usually said, this order of service is merely a suggestion. So, the order this morning is good for the order of things, but not for the persons presenting. Reverend Eric, along with a number of others, both in the congregation and at Unitarian House, have COVID, and hence we have asked you, if possible, to put on masks, and thank you very much for doing that. And so now we'll start the service, which is a welcome. So, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome everyone to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be, you are most welcome. Now, today I am both Reverend Eric Meter, the congregation's lead minister, and I am Mary, your worship associate. And I've been joined by Mary Ella, thank you Mary Ella, who very kindly offered to help with this very unusual service. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all those that have the willingness to understand, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. So let's join our voices in song once more. Well, there's a bit of a problem here. Now, Jen, I seem to have completely jumped over the prelude. What would you like to do?
Oh, since it's mentioned in the sermon, maybe we should, or in the reflection, maybe we should do it?
I think that's a great idea. So, let's backtrack a bit, and we're going to do the sung prelude. and it's in here.
Do all kinds of singing. For the song prelude today, we're actually going to be looking at a hymn that's in our hymnal. This is Cuando el Pobre, number 1027 in the Teal hymnal, but the words will be up here as well. It's unfamiliar to us, but the words were extremely appropriate, and when Reverend Eric and I were discussing what the message he wanted for this service to be, it was very much the one that came to mind. So what I'd love to do is for the song prelude, we'll learn the tune, and then that way, when it comes back later in the service as our closing hymn, you can sing with more confidence. We'll be singing it in English, so the words that are the translation that's under in italics and the brackets, that's the words we're going to be singing right now, just in case you were feeling frightened of the Spanish. So it sounds like this. If you'd like, you could listen once, and then we'll sing it together on the second time through. When the poor ones who have nothing still are giving, when the thirsty pass the cup water to share, when the wounded offer others strength and healing, we see God here by our side, walking our way. We see God here by our side, walking our way. Let's try it together. When the poor ones who have nothing still are giving, when the thirsty pass the cup water to share, when the wounded offer others strength and healing, we see God here by our side, walking our way. We see God here by our side, walking our way. One final time. When the poor ones who have nothing still are giving, when the wounded pass the cup water to share, when the wounded offer others strength and healing, we see God here by our side, walking our way. We see God here by our side, walking our way. Thank you. Beautiful singing, as always.
So now that we're back on track, how about we join our voices in song once more? Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together, Sing We Now of Christmas, number 254 in our gray hymnal. And the lyrics will be on the screen above.
Sing we
As health challenges continue, do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you are right here in Worship Hall with us this morning and would like more information about FirstU, it is available at the welcome table at the back of the pews, and Carol is there this morning to help you out. We encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Sign-up information is available on our website under the EUU Weekly Newsletter tab, and you can access the EUU on the website or by using the QR code on the back of our printed programs. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages and our website for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, though some of our activities take place online. This morning, each of us is welcome. We of any heritage or faith, whatever our burdens, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are, today we are all part of this spiritual community. And I'd like Mariella to come up and we will light the chalice.
To begin our morning's reflection on the meanings of this season, we light our chalice this morning to these words from Sharon Wiley. This solstice day, in honor of ancient traditions that celebrate this time of longest night, we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the 4 directions: earth, air, fire, and water. The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. We light our chalice and reflect on the light we need to guide us through hard times. The light of our shared faith, the light of loving community, the light of love, joy, and hope. Our chalice is lit. Come, let us worship together as we begin by singing our chalice song.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jody McIntosh, the Director of Religious Exploration, and this morning's story is a retelling of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in the bustling city of London, England, there lived a grumpy old man named Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge was very rich, but he was also very mean and didn't like to share his money. He thought Christmas was a waste of time and didn't understand why people were so happy about it. One cold Christmas Eve, Scrooge was working late in his office. His clerk, Bob Cratchit, was shivering because Scrooge wouldn't let him have much coal for the fire. Scrooge's cheerful nephew, Fred, came to invite him to Christmas dinner, but Scrooge just said, "Bah, humbug," and refused. That night, after Scrooge went home and fell asleep, he was visited by the ghost of his old business partner, Jacob Marley. Marley was wrapped in heavy chains and looked very sad. He told Scrooge that he was being punished for being greedy and unkind when he was alive. Marley warned Scrooge that he would end up like him if he didn't change his ways. Scrooge was frightened, but tried to brush it off as a bad dream. The first spirit, the ghost of Christmas past, appeared a short while later as a small, gentle figure. It took Scrooge back in time to see his own past Christmases. Scrooge saw himself as a lonely boy at school left behind while the other children went home for the holidays. He felt a pang of sadness and regret for his lonely childhood. He also saw a joyful Christmas party thrown by his old boss, Mr. Fezziwig, who was kind and generous. Scrooge felt a warm, nostalgic happiness, but also a deep sense of loss. Finally, he saw himself as a young man who lost his true love because he cared more about money than people. Scrooge felt heartbroken and wished he had made different choices. The second spirit, the ghost of Christmas present, was a jolly giant with a warm heart. It showed Scrooge how people were celebrating Christmas that very night. They visited the home of Bob Cratchit, Scrooge's poor but kind-hearted clerk. Scrooge saw Bob's family, especially his sick son, Tiny Tim, who was cheerful despite being very ill. Tiny Tim said, "God bless us, everyone." Scrooge realized how hard Bob's life was and felt a deep sense of pity and sorrow for them. He was touched by their love and happiness despite their struggles. Tiny Tim was a small boy with a big heart. Despite his illness, he always had a smile on his face and a kind word for everyone. He walked with a crutch and was very weak, but his spirit was strong. Scrooge was deeply moved by Tiny Tim's courage and positivity. He saw how much the Cratchit family loved and cared for Tiny Tim, and it made him realize the importance of family and kindness. The third spirit, the ghost of Christmas yet to come, was dark and mysterious. It showed Scrooge a future where he had died. No one was sad about his death, and his belongings were stolen by thieves. Scrooge was terrified and felt a deep sense of dread and regret. Then the spirit took him to the Cratchit home, which was much quieter and sadder than before. Scrooge saw Bob Cratchit sitting alone, looking heartbroken. He realized that Tiny Tim had died as well. Scrooge was overwhelmed with grief and guilt, understanding that his own actions had contributed to this tragic outcome. He begged the spirit to give him a chance to change his ways, promising to be a better person. When Scrooge woke up on Christmas morning, he was a changed man. He was filled with joy and kindness. He laughed and danced around his room, feeling lighter and happier than he had in years. He gave money to the poor, sent a huge turkey to the Cratchit family, and spent the day with his nephew, Fred. Scrooge's heart was overflowing with generosity and love. He visited friends and family, spreading Christmas cheer wherever he went. From that day on, Scrooge was known for his generosity and good heart. He treated everyone with kindness and made sure that Tiny Tim got the care he needed. Scrooge became like a second father to Tiny Tim, who did not die but grew stronger and healthier. Scrooge's transformation was so complete that people could hardly believe he was the same man. He lived each day with the spirit of Christmas in his heart, helping those in need and cherishing the joy of giving. Tiny Tim thrived under Scrooge's care. He received the medical attention he needed and grew stronger each day. Scrooge and Tiny Tim formed a special bond, and they spent a lot of time together. And so Ebenezer Scrooge learned the true meaning of Christmas and lived happily ever after, becoming a beloved figure in the community. Tiny Tim's famous words, "God bless us, everyone," echoed in Scrooge's heart, reminding him of the joy and warmth of Christmas all year round. Thank you. So we will now sing our children on their way, and if we can go up this aisle, that would be great. Thank you.
Each week, we pause in our time together in recognition of the joys and sorrows in our lives and across the globe. We honor our celebrations and challenges by placing a stone in a bowl of water. As the ripples extend outward, imagine them continuing out beyond these small bowls, out through and past our pews, out into the larger community of all. Now, we have a couple of sorrows, stones for sorrows today, and Mary Ellen will put them in. A stone for Matilda, who has begun radiation treatments, and a stone for Eric and Lisa. Eric's father, Eric Sr., died on Tuesday. His memorial will be next month in Vancouver. And I'd like a very big stone, if you would, please, Mary Ella. A stone of caring and get well soon for all those currently affected by this outbreak of COVID here and at Unitarian House. Against this background, we live our lives. Please come forward now to honor your joys and sorrows by placing stones in water. And the last stone, as always, represents all that remains in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Carrying cards for Matilda, and Lisa and Eric are at the back of the hall for us to sign. Even if you don't know them, this is a way for us to extend our care on behalf of those who gave so much of their hearts to this community. Let us move into a time of stillness and reflection. After several moments, we'll come back together through the gift of music.
As Mary explained earlier, Reverend Eric has COVID. So I have the privilege of delivering the reflection he would have been delivering today if he had felt better. I'll be delivering exactly the words he wrote. So when he says I, when I say I mean him. So this is called Midwinter Reflections. When the days are at their darkest, we light all the candles we can muster. We light candles, we put little electric lights on all the trees, both inside and out. We even put them on doorways, shrubs, or along any gutters or drain pipes we find handy. It makes sense. We compensate for what we miss, for what we hope for. Moreover, when there is strife in or simply threatening the land, we look ever more to peace on earth and goodwill to all. Some years ago now, I was on a flight on Christmas Day, flying home to be with family on the holiday, when I made the mistake of telling the person sitting next to me the truth when he asked what I did for a living. Now, I don't want to sound like I enjoy deceiving anyone, but the chance that telling your aisle mate the truth that you are clergy and then having a good, balanced, informative, and satisfying conversation is next to nil, sad to say. Pastors and preachers know it's a smart move to have a backup career cover story ready in the wings. Something boring and not at all controversial. Say, being an actuary, for example, which I know is being unfair to actuaries who are fine people doing necessary work. The questioner was a middle-aged man, someone who worked with his hands for a living. Before he asked me what I did, I enjoyed our banter. He knew how to tell a good joke. But when I told him that my faith tradition, by and large, viewed Jesus as a great teacher and not necessarily the only child of God, well, turns out those were fighting words. When he asked what I talked about on Christmas Eve, I replied with the lines from perhaps the foremost of our religious educators of the past century, Sophia Lyon-Faz. She said, "Each night a child is born is a holy night. Each night a child is born is a holy night." To which he replied, "Well, that's an answer." And our conversation was over. I could say I was sad about that, but mostly I was relieved. It didn't mean I didn't have to go to where the imp in me, no, it meant I didn't have to go to where the imp in me wanted to go, and that was to say, credible religious historians think that Jesus was actually likely born in the summer, and that early Christians changed the date to counter the popularity of the Roman Saturnalia celebrations. As an aside, earlier in our conversation, he mentioned that while he didn't have a problem with gays on an individual basis, the Bible was clear that same-sex unions were verboten. I did not get far in explaining that this perception was actually the result of an intentionally made mistranslation. Again, according to religious historians who I've learned to trust, one should translate the phrase in question as sex with angels, which was either an obtuse theological point or a way of saying, don't think too much of yourself. He didn't go for that idea either. We do what we can. So, back to Christmas and the season at the end of the year. What do we know? That while light is less now, the days will grow longer again. What do we know? That we need a bit of cheer when things are growing cold again. What do we know? That goodwill is always in season and worth the effort. While it may not to you, it rings true to me that early Christians changed the season of Jesus' birth. There's more poetry with a star shining over the long winter night than a short summer one. And how else can you compete with raucous Saturnalia parties? The thing is, some of our religious forebears did a little of the same thing themselves back in the day. And here I want to thank two colleagues of mine, Teresa Novak and Richard Nugent, for delving into our UU history. Quoting Novak, Unitarians began promoting Christmas in the early 1800s. They didn't believe that Christmas was the actual birthday of Jesus, but they liked the idea of a family-centered holiday and thought a special season with a tradition of helping the poor and the less fortunate was a pretty fine idea. It turns out the celebration of Christmas was the most controversial subject, second only to slavery, within the churches south of our border at that time. Liberal clergy like the Unitarians and Universalists denounced slavery and promoted Christmas, while their conservative colleagues did the exact opposite. Novak continues, the issue with Christmas tied into both theology and politics of the time. The conservative religion then believed in original sin, believed that only some were saved, and even worse, believed that the state of your soul was directly related to your material wealth. No need for charity. The poor were damned by their own sin anyway. Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, which we heard earlier with Jody, was his bald statement that ignorance and want were the real evils. This was in direct contrast to the theology and social politics of his day. These politics led with the notion that the solution to poverty was to punish those who were poor, to put them in workhouses or debtors' prisons. Christmas was the only time of the year when the poor could expect, even demand, some charity from the wealthy. The carol, "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," references those times with the figgy pudding verse. Oh, bring us a figgy pudding, oh, bring us a figgy pudding. Oh, bring us a figgy pudding and a cup of good cheer. We won't go until we get some, we won't go until we get some. The wealthy did not like this tradition of the unwashed masses gathering at their doors demanding both food and drink. But wait, isn't that just what our Christmas choir sang here last Sunday during our mitten tree celebration? Maybe Novak is onto something. Novak continues with a few further notes. First, to offer the reminder that Dickens was a Unitarian, as was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who wrote the poem Christmas Bells. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Today we substitute that last word to make it goodwill to all, but the point remains. Both across the pond and here in the New World, our Unitarian ancestors sought to bring meaning, connections between people of differing social classes, and lasting warmth to this time of year. As Reverend Eric continues, now there's a further point I want to make here. You've probably heard me, if not from others around here, mention that Unitarian Universalism is a non-creedal faith. We don't ask for a profession of faith to be part of this community. Instead, we are an interesting collection of atheists, neo-pagans, those who are at least culturally Jewish, those who strive to follow the tenets of Jesus of Nazareth, those who practice Buddhist meditation, those who gladly check the box labeled none of the above, and those who are at least culturally Muslim. Fancy that. And by and large, we get along really well. In fact, in my nearly 30 years of ministry, I have never encountered conflict within our congregations on the basis of belief. Oh, there have been plenty of disagreements, don't get the wrong idea. It's just that we don't let our differences in tone get in the way of moving forward together. Something happened over the last couple hundred years in our faith. We moved away from finding authority in Scripture, it's all too often a matter of translation after all, and moved toward trusting, as our sources begin, our direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Yes, by and large, we trust our experience. To take our own experiences as more authoritative than any scripture, you have to trust those experiences and our reflections on them. In short, you have to trust yourself. Now, we are just as fallible as anyone, but starting with a baseline of trust is the key. There are those here who still look to a higher power, and that is all well and good. In a short line from a poem by Wendell Berry, I have always held close, he says, "Not by your will is the house carried through the night." That's from his poem Healing, from his book, What Are People For? Now, that's the original line, though I adapt it to read, "Not by our will are we carried through the night." We start with trusting ourselves and work it out from there, following the guides that have shown us to be the most reliable. And if we, by and large, can trust ourselves, then by extension, it will be easier for us to start with a baseline of trust in others. Let me repeat that. If we, by and large, can trust ourselves, then by extension, it will be easier for us to start with a baseline of trust in others. Recently, a friend I've known for years introduced me to a poem that, even though it does not include the word trust, shines a light on exactly this. The poem is called "The Man Who Rings Me Up at Target," and it's by Rosemary Watola Traumer. Now, please don't let the title divert your attention. We all know that Target stores didn't do so well up here in the Great White North. Being from Minnesota, my guess is that the company's leadership felt that they understood Canada and Canadians and didn't need to learn anything to make things work here. And as you know, they were wrong. But the poem stands. So if you wish, feel free to substitute Shoppers or Canadian Tire or Loblaws, whatever works for you. The man who rings me up at Target tells me he used to be mean. Tells me used to not like who he was. Tells me he dreamed of his mother after she died. And she told him that though she was no longer with him, she could still teach him how to be alive, which in practical terms meant how to be kind. In the time it takes for me to buy lint rollers and lip balm, I am so moved by this woman I will only meet through a dream and a checkout lane conversation that I walk out into the night with a smile on my face. This is the way we share hope with each other, one thin strand at a time. By the time I get to the car, I'm still smiling, wholly tethered to life by a gift that appeared so slight at first, I didn't even know it was there. This time of year, whether you celebrate the solstice, Christmas, Hanukkah, none, or any, or all of the above, may you know the warmth of friendly companionship. May bright stars keep you company during these long nights. Whether you believe in God in any shape or form or not, may the words we sung earlier and will soon sing again stay beside you and all those you meet this season. When the poor ones who have nothing still are giving. When the thirsty pass the cup, water to share. When the wounded offer others strength and healing, we see God here by our side, walking our way. we see God here by our side, walking our way. Amen, my friends, so may it be.
Our choral anthem today is going to be performed by Three Rivers. Earlier you heard the Christmas choir. Both of our groups today are greatly diminished in number. So I want to really thank all of you for coming out today and singing, even though you are, half to a third of the normal size. And I also want to thank those of you who were feeling under the weather and elected to stay home. So our second anthem is Solstice Carol by Kim Baraluk, who sings with the Weird Sisters based out of Winnipeg. This is one of their pieces.
A fire is burning, the long night draws near. All who need comfort are welcome by here. We'll dance 'neath the stars and toast the past year, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. We'll count all our blessings while the mother lays down, with snow as her blanket, covering the ground. Thanks to the mother for the life that she brings. She'll waken to warm us again in the spring. The poor and the hungry, the sick and the lost, these are our children, no matter the cost. Come by the fire, the harvest to share, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. A fire is burning, the long night draws near. All who need comfort are welcomed by here. We'll dance 'neath the stars and toast the past year, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. The spirit of solstice is still living here.
Will our ushers please start passing the baskets at this time? Thank you. This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. We rely on one another to keep this congregation vital and resilient. If you have any questions about how you can give, please go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Also, those in Worship Hall can use the QR code on the back of the order of service to make an online donation. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now let us sing together once more. Please rise in body or spirit as Jen leads us in singing Cuando el Pobre, number 1027 in our teal hymnal, and the words will be up on the screen.
I'd like to mention that we will sing the first verse in Spanish this time, which is the original language that this was written in, but the rest of them will be in English, so we'll switch to English after the first verse. All right, feel free to rise in body or spirit.
Well, we come to the end of this very unusual, but I hope enjoyable service. Before we begin to close this time of worship and reflection, a reminder that there will not be any coffee or tea served in Fellowship Hall after the service today, nor will the Mias have their tasty food available. However, don't forget, the Go-Go Grannies have delicious squares and cookies and maple syrup to buy and take home, and they will be in Fellowship Hall. And feel free to gather in Fellowship Hall for distance and mass conversation. We hope this restriction will be short-lived. Also, Ajashka's grow towers have been taken down for the season, but food and household items from our grocery support program are available in the room adjacent to Fellowship Hall, facing the Unitarian House courtyard. Now, Mary Ella.
Now, as we prepare to extinguish our chalice, may these words from Barbara Peskin be our guide. We can extinguish this flame now because we know that in each of us glows the truth and the love to help all of us light the way together. May we carry the flame forward. Blessed are we, and blessed may we be. Go in peace, go making peace. Jen, will you please bless us again by leading us in our closing song, Spirit of Life, which is, you'll find number 123 in our gray hymnal and above us. Please rise once more in body or spirit.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Words hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Source divine, jaillis en moi. Laisse dans mon cœur tes élans. Nations, chante dans le vent, danse avec la mer, anime la main qui façonne la justice. De l'ouriment, ciel emporte-moi, source divine, éveille-moi, éveille-moi.
May we also always remember that we are people of love, providing a place in this world for our spirit, a place called home. As now we return to the challenge and joy of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward with love in our hearts, sowing seeds of justice from our hands and peace in our steps. Go in peace, my friends. Go making peace.